All right, I am here with Steven Stingray Ray. I appreciate you, man, for jumping on and chatting with us a little bit about Mississippi State and Arkansas, a game you'll be at this weekend.
That's right. I've actually, because of my radio show, been granted media credentials to see the Bulldogs play for the second straight weekend. Last weekend, they had a tough home loss against Texas A&M, and now they welcome in Arkansas, and Arkansas is fresh off of the beat down that they suffered to the LSU Tigers at home, and both of these teams limp into this game needing a much needed win because for Mississippi State, if they lose this game, they will not be going to a bowl game again for the second straight year. And if Arkansas loses this game, the hot seat talk is really going to ramp up over Sam Pittman like it was completely non existent after the Tennessee win in Fayetteville.
Yeah. I think when you look at these teams, and I don't mean to be funny with this, but as somebody who covers Florida State and knows something about 1-6 teams, this is not a joke, right? And so I'm trying to preface as much as I can. Mississippi State might be the best 1-6 team in the country, if I'm being fair with who they've played and how they've played them. They played A&M pretty tough. They played Georgia pretty tough. They played Florida pretty tough. They played a decent Arizona State team pretty tough. Now they haven't found ways to win, and that's
Yeah.
not atypical when you have a first year coach, but I think they've probably played a little better than their record. It is a first year coach against a murderer's row schedule that doesn't really get much easier with Tennessee, Missouri, and
Right.
Ole Miss coming up. But this one is kind of winnable. What is the path to a Mississippi State minor upset here?
Well, their defensive line is atrocious, and eventually somebody on that defensive line has got to show up and start creating havoc for opposing offensive lines. Mississippi State, that is the only thing that is holding them back, is on the defensive side of the football. The offense from the Toledo game through the Texas A&M game has been lights out. It is a night and day transformation with Van Buren as the quarterback. However, the defensive line is still struggling to get any sort of pressure on the quarterback, and I will give you this: last weekend Texas A&M in a 7-point game had a 3rd and 21. Any other defense in America, the defense is licking their chops, they're pinning their ears back, they're coming after the quarterback. Not Mississippi State. Mississippi State on 3rd and 21 gave up 28 yards to a wide open crossing pattern because the defensive line did not get within 3 yards of Connor Wigman. And so that defensive line has eventually got to show up if Mississippi State is going to win another game this season, because I would argue that defensive line is the worst in college football history.
When you look at Arkansas, they've 4-3, right? So a path to a bowl exists. I certainly think
Yes.
Pittman probably gets another year if they get to a bowl.
Right.
And they've been fairly competitive. Obviously they blew the big lead against Oklahoma State. That
Yep.
was just a masterclass in which team wanted to lose the game more. And apparently Arkansas did because they both had their chances. And then even against A&M, they played a really good game against A&M and lost that by 4. Now, obviously they did get blown out last week against LSU, and that game probably wasn't even as close as the 24-point final spread. But if
Right.
Arkansas wins this one and beats Mississippi State, which they are a 7-point favorite on the road. They also, now I don't necessarily see them beating Ole Miss or Texas, but then I think they have 2 winnable games past that. I think they will beat Louisiana Tech at home, going on
They
the
will.
road to Missouri, who is kind of a dumpster fire too. Like, I think they
Yeah.
could win that one on rivalry week. Like, how bought in is Missouri still at that point? So if their path to 6 or 7 wins is there, and then I mean, shoot, you
Yes.
get 8 in a bowl. I mean, Sam Pittman has a chance to keep his job, I guess is what I'm saying at the end of the day.
He does. And let me say this as well. If Mississippi State is going to win this game at home, they are going to have to turn over Arkansas which Arkansas has been prone to major turnovers there in games that you're like, just, what were you doing there, Taylon Green? Why did you do that? I mean, Taylon Green is really good at times, and then he holds this team back by his egregious decision making at times. So the only way Mississippi State, just like with Missouri, if they're going to find a way to win, they're going to have to create shorter fields and turn over Arkansas so that they can give that offense a little bit of breathing room and not have to completely drive the length of the field.
Yeah, Arkansas has been prone to some Auburn-like turnovers this year,
Yes,
where you're just like scratching your head, like, how in the world could you turn the ball over at this point? I mean, you think
right.
about Auburn at the end of the Missouri game, you think about Auburn at the end of the Oklahoma game. Like, their
Yep,
timing for turnovers has been just absolutely horrific,
right.
and so Arkansas suffers from that a little bit too. You think about back to that Oklahoma State game for sure.
So when you look at this game, who has the advantage on offense right now? I think it's Mississippi State.
Yeah,
Who has the advantage on the defense? I think it's Arkansas because, like we've talked about, Mississippi State's defense is not that good. You can pass on them, you can run on them. I mean, there's really nothing that defense is good at. So I think when you look at this game, it's going to be a very tightly contested game. But I think if Arkansas is going to lose this game in Starkville, it's going to have to be another 3 or 4 turnover performance for them. If they play a clean game with the talent that Mississippi State has versus the talent that Arkansas has, I think Arkansas walks out of Starkville with their 5th win of the season.
what's the mood in Starkville? Like, nobody's happy with 1-6, but is there some understanding of like, hey, we are looking better at times, we're playing some teams competitively, or is it just meltdown mode all the way around?
Not meltdown mode, not at all. Based off of what we saw versus Toledo versus what we saw versus Texas A&M, there is a lot of encouragement coming into the remainder of the season, going into the off season, hitting the transfer portal, and getting some guys on the offensive and defensive line. So yes, there is major encouragement in Starkville because you have seen flashes of what this team can and will potentially become under Jeff Lebby if he can find a defense.
Yeah, it'd be huge for them to capitalize on a little bit of that momentum with
Yes.
a win this weekend, and then obviously they're gonna, who's their they kind of have a bye game right at one point, like just
Uh, Maine,
Massachusetts. Yeah, that would
Maine,
be next week, and then
Massachusetts.
if you could steal one down the stretch, at Tennessee seems pretty daunting, but Missouri kind of in shambles at this point. Ole Miss, who knows how bought in they'll be at that point. If you could steal this one, get Massachusetts, and then find one more to get to like the 4 wins and have a nice kind of the end of the season. They've played teams well, and they've been impressive. As impressive as a 1-6 team can be. Covering
And let
Florida
me
State.
also, yeah, let me also say this as well. There is a donor, an anonymous donor at Mississippi State who has already given $12 million to Jeff Levy and the NIL fund
Hmm.
for football only. And let me tell you, you can buy one heck of a roster with $12 million.
Yeah.
So look for Mississippi State in the offseason to really hit the transfer portal hard with some key pieces for next year's football team.
I like it. I like it. Do you have a prediction in this one?
21-17 Arkansas.
Okay, get the
But
win.
I'm not confident on that one because I think I do see a path for Mississippi State to win. But based off of that defense, like we've talked about, I've got to give the edge to Arkansas.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on. For people watching this video too, where can they find you? Where can they follow your work?
At Steven Ray 30 on Facebook and the Stingray Show on Facebook, and then on my YouTube page where all of our podcasts are. It is meteorologist Steven Ray, and then look for the Stingray Show podcast.
Awesome. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, and Hell State.